On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Metro Ford of OKC, the new defensive coordinator at FAU, Mike Stoops, joins us for an interview. We talked to Mike about his new job and the journey he's been on ever since he was let go at OU. We talked some OU football by discussing who the best OU quarterback of the 2000s is. We recap an epic Bedlam in Football Guys Talkin Basketball and finish up by giving you our winners and losers of the weekend. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right. Our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Monday, March 1st, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Metro Ford of OKC. Metro Ford of OKC's inventory is the best of the best. In fact, they own more Black Widows and more 2021 F-150s than anybody else. They're the only Roush and Rocky Ridge dealer in the state. You can find a ride at Metro Ford of OKC that you can't find anywhere else in Oklahoma. Just like their selection of vehicles is unmatched, so is their customer service. The Metro Ford of OKC Difference Program is included with the purchase of every new and pre-owned vehicle. It includes free oil changes for life, lifetime window tint, lifetime nitrogen fill for your tires, complimentary wheel locks, interior fabric protection, complimentary service loaners, a complimentary shuttle with service, and a complimentary multi-point inspection. Come feel the performance when you test drive a Roush or Raptor, and come see why the difference is real at Metro Ford of OKC. Visit metrofordofokc.com for more information, or go to the dealership and tell them we sent you. Now recording this on Sunday night. Please don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and let us know who you want us to try to get on the podcast. Teddy, we've got your defensive coordinator. We've got Mike Stoops on this episode.
Let's go. Can't wait. Mike's fantastic. I'm glad he's got that FAU spot, defensive coordinator. Who knows? Couple of good years there. No telling where we're going to see him end up.
Yeah, I'm really excited for him. And I know that a lot of OU fans feel a certain way about Mike Stoops, but the interview is really interesting. It's clear that he's done some soul searching and learning there those 2 years he was at Alabama. So it's really good. You guys will enjoy it. Now, I did want to start here before we get to the OU stuff and just send my condolences to the Notre Dame football family. Louis Nix III, who was the best defensive lineman I played against in college, passed away over the weekend, or was found dead over the weekend at the age of 29. Kind of some mystery around it, some weird stuff. His car was found in a pond. He had been shot in December. I checked in on him because I'm not going to pretend like we were best friends or anything, but we had the mutual respect of playing each other those 2 times in college. We were in the same draft class, and it's just really sad. It's really, really sad. And I was pretty shaken up when I saw the news because this was a guy that had an absolutely infectious personality and was the life of the party and always was fun to be around, and anytime I ran into him. So I guess what I want to say is that just he is one of the last guys I ever thought something like this would happen to. And I don't know the details yet. They haven't kind of figured out what happened, but I think it's a good reminder to just reach out to your people, man. I mean, check in on them. You never know what someone's going through. You never know what someone's dealing with. And the people that you think will never not be okay just might be the ones that won't be okay. So if you can, check in on someone that maybe you haven't checked in with in a long time. That's all I'm saying. I hate to start it there, Ted, but I just saw that over the weekend, and it shook me up a little bit.
It's tough news. It's always tough news. And, it's something that honestly that happens way too often with former athletes. I don't know. I think guys, and I don't know what his position was, but this is just kind of generally speaking that once football is gone, there's a lack of what do I do next? What do I do now? I've always been a football player, and now that I'm not a football player, I'm nobody. So I don't know. It's just it can be a different world, and I know everyone thinks that, oh my gosh, if you're a athlete at a university like Notre Dame and playing the NFL, then you've got a leg up on everyone, and that's true. But it's still difficult for a lot of guys to deal with. And man, he was a good player and played on some unbelievable defenses there at Notre Dame. D line, linebacker, secondary, they were all great, and it started up front with this guy. He was that big. What he go about 330 or so or more at nose
He went a
guard.
whole lot. That's all I know. He would. That was a heavy dude. That was a hard
And
dude to
did he
move.
wear number one? He was a single
He
digit,
did.
wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. Numero uno.
Yeah.
So
Sad.
rest in peace, man. Just really, really sad. Okay, let's get to the OU stuff, Ted, and let's start here. Everyone saw it all over social media. OU put up another Big 12 championship banner in the indoor facility there in Norman. You win the Big 12, you hang a banner. Them's the rules. And I was just thinking about it because we never really did like a season recap or anything like this, but this may sound weird, but that banner feels like it certainly was one of the most difficult for OU to earn, especially recently, because now I'm not trying to rank OU's Big 12 championships from how hard they were to win or anything like that, but you look at the circumstances last season, losing those first two conference games to Kansas State and Iowa State, not having Ronnie Perkins and Ramondre Stevenson for half the year, all of the COVID stuff, right, that presented its own challenges with the players constantly worrying about if they're going to be available or not. It does feel like a hell of accomplishment to win a Big 12 championship last year. I know that we've gotten so used to them. It's the 6-1 in a row. It almost feels like they don't matter at this point, but that's still a hell of an accomplishment. It's cool to see him hang that banner.
Yeah, I don't know how you feel, but whenever I was there, it was a cool moment to. I mean, winning the game is always big. I mean, that's obviously the biggest thing, but seeing the banner go up in the indoor, there's a huge amount of pride that goes into that, and seeing that it's your place, that's your year amongst all the others. And I know it can get lost I don't know how many conference championships throughout the years. It just seems like it's never ending. But yeah, every single one of them is unique and difficult, and the path meanders through all kinds of different obstacles, whether it's suspensions or injuries or a pandemic. I mean, there's all kinds of different things that pop up each and every year. And last year, you kind of mixed it all together. You had a pandemic, you had a freshman quarterback, you had suspensions from some of the best players on the football teams, you had injuries, you had all kinds of stuff that happened throughout the year. And to navigate that, emerge after losing your first two conference games of the year, emerge as the conference champion, it's a huge accomplishment, and those guys should be very proud whenever they hang that banner up for sure.
Yeah, and to a lot of people, it's just kind of a piece of vinyl with a number on it. But when you were part of it, and you can kind of remember all the things that went into putting that stupid banner up, it does mean a lot to because how many did you win? I won two.
Too.
You won two. So one
Oh
thing,
God.
yeah, just calm down. It's okay. It's okay. But one
uh,
thing that people can't take from you is like you walk into that indoor and those numbers are up forever. Like no one can ever take it from you. And even though people may not think Big 12 championships mean as much now as they used to, it doesn't matter. They can never take it from those kids. And you can never take 2010 and 2012 from me, people. So, ha.
that's right. No, I mean, hey, I get it with the Big 12 right now. You've won it however many years in a row, and maybe it starts to feel like to some people that doesn't mean as much. Well, just go in the indoor and look at how many years in a row they won the Big Six and the Big Eight. I mean, it was never ending. Thank God they don't have a banner for every one of those years because there's not enough space in all of the indoor facilities out there to list all of those years. They got to put them on one big banner in the end zone. So, yeah, hey, it's everyone out there is chomping at the bit for Oklahoma every single year, trying to knock them off the pedestal. So, um, we have up and down years. Some years are better than others. And I thought Iowa State was a great team last year, and they're going to be even better next year. So they're all very meaningful.
Okay, Ted, let's move on to call your shot. And this week's question was inspired by Bill Connolly. He ranked the top 60 college football quarterbacks in the 2000s. Now, we're just going to discuss the OU guys on it because actually on Thursday's episode, we'll discuss the whole list with Bill Connolly himself, the author of the list, the guy that compiled the list. So we'll go through a deep dive of that thing with Bill. But let's look at the 6 OU guys Bill Connolly has on his list, which first of all just shows how ridiculous of a run OU has had at quarterback. We talked about it last episode, but it truly is amazing. So of the top 60 college football quarterbacks in the 2000s, OU's got 6 of them. Baker is number 1. Kyler at number 7, Sam Bradford, number 15, Jalen Hurts, number 23, Jason White, number 30, and Landry Jones, number 36. Now, we can go through all the numbers. They all have ridiculous stats, but the question we threw out for Call Your Shot was if you had to win one game and you can only pick one OU QB since 2000 to win that game, who are you picking and why? And Teddy, in a shocking development, we got a whole lot of responses on this one.
I bet. Yeah. And I bet they run the gamut from Baker to Kyler to Sam. Probably not going to get a whole lot of Jalen's. Probably not going to get a whole lot of Landry's in there, but some very capable guys for sure.
I will say this: we received more Landry's than Jalen's.
Yeah, well, that's not shocking. Jalen, even though his numbers were ridiculous, I mean ridiculous, counted for like 55 touchdowns. I think people were happy that it was a 1-year deal and he was gone for whatever reason.
Okay, before we look at some of the answers that people had, who would you take? You got to win one game. Which guy you picking?
It's such a hard question. Okay, I've got a couple of questions before I answer. What Jason White do I get? If I get Jason White pre knee surgeries, that's completely different than Jason White post knee surgeries. What Jay White do I get?
I'm going to give you pre knee surgeries. I'm going to give you the young Jay White because I feel like you're going to pick him now.
Well, everyone forgets how great of an athlete Jason White was. Not good, great. He was an exceptional basketball player. Could have gone D1 in basketball. Just was fantastic. And that's how he originally started burning people in 2001 was with his legs coming in, running the option, tucking the ball from the pocket. So that's one thing. The other thing is, what team are we talking about? Because every team is structured differently. Are we talking about, well, we're throwing to the skill guys that Baker had in 2017? Are we, because everyone played with different lines and threw to different guys?
Okay, this is how we'll do it. Just like whoever you want around the quarterback, you can put there. So
okay,
like if
I could just all-star cast it around.
Your all-star cast. So like tackles, you've got Orlando Brown and Trent Williams, or Jamal Brown and Trent Williams, like whoever you'd want to take. Like we're talking, you get the all-star OU lineup around them. So everything's equal for all of them. You got to pick one guy. I feel like you're asking too many questions. You just got to go with your gut here. Go with your gut.
Well, okay. There's only one answer for this. There's only one answer. And I think that anyone that says anything other than this is lying to themselves and letting their heart get in the way. The answer is Kyler Murray. He's the fastest. He's he's totally calm and poised under duress. He's got a top-notch arm. There's no flaws in the game. It's Kyler.
Kyler is the most talented.
Mm-hmm.
There is no doubt when you talk about arm talent, his ability to run around.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm going with the heart, Ted,
Baker?
because if it was one game, if I needed one game for the quarterback to rally the troops and to go win a game, I'm taking Baker Mayfield. Because not only does he have great accuracy, right? And his mobility, remember in college football, was solid. It's clearly not Kyler Murray's.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I would take Baker is the effect he has on the people around him. And I don't know how to measure that, but we were able to watch that up close. And the guys around him believed in him wholeheartedly. I mean, remember when they acted like he died when he was suspended for
Yes.
that?
Hey, they carried out his.
They carried out his jersey, Ted. So I know that I literally know that Kyler Murray's a more talented guy. Like I understand that, and an absolute headache. But if you're talking about one game, you got to get a group of men to go win one game. I'm factoring the leadership in there, and I'm taking Baker Mayfield.
I can't argue with that, and I don't know that the separation is that much at all, but Baker is by far more entertaining. He's the most entertaining college football player maybe to ever play at Oklahoma, and we've had some doozies here. But I mean, had the entire fan base, teammates, coaching staff, opposing fans, everyone in the palm of his hand. It was really something to watch. But if I've got to win the football game, I'm going with the straight up talent. But I can't really argue with Baker. That would be worth the watch for sure.
I also like Baker not only affected the guys on offense, like he affected the guys on defense. I just his effect, not only his effect on his teammates, but also on the fans. I've never seen anything like it at OU.
I wish it would have affected the guys on defense a little bit more because I got to tell you, some of the worst defense I've ever seen played was at Texas Tech. No, that is the worst. So he could have affected them a little bit better that day.
I think at Severs Sean on Twitter sums this up perfectly for you, Ted. He says, "My heart tells me Baker, my head or my mind tells me Kyler."
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I could totally get it with Baker. Just the thrill of the game would be way better with Baker than it would
the
be
antics.
With Kyler.
You get the antics.
You get the antics. You get the. I mean, one of the problems with Kyler is he makes the incredible seem routine. Baker sometimes makes the routine seem incredible. And that is way more interesting to watch and more fun to cover.
I will say this. If it came down to just making one throw, I'm taking Sam Bradford.
Yeah.
I was able to experience that firsthand because I was still playing tight end his senior year. That was my redshirt year. His accuracy was stupid. People have forgotten about just how gifted of a passer he was because of all the injuries in the NFL. Go back and watch some of that 08 stuff. I mean, his ability to absolutely rip the football right where it needs to be, it was incredible. I mean, I think a lot of people have forgotten just how good of a college quarterback he was, Ted.
I think so I was at OU during his pro day whenever he threw. Were you? I talked to you while were you there watching?
Yeah.
It's the first time and only time I've ever seen a pro day with a quarterback throwing, and the entire place is like verbally out loud oohing and awing with every single throw. I mean, it was incredible, and that's against air, which I know is easier, but still, I've never seen a reaction like that from NFL scouts and GMs watching a guy throw the football.
That pro day was awesome because
It
remember,
was,
he'd been hurt for so long and he showed up and he was like jacked and looked
yeah,
amazing and was just ripping it. Everyone was like,
all over the
look
place. It was
at
great.
this dude. But yeah, Bradford didn't get many. We didn't have many people say Bradford. We didn't have really anyone say Jalen Hurts
There is recency bias though. I mean, the
for
guys
sure.
that you're
I mean,
used to
Landry Jones
watching,
is the all-time leading passer.
yeah, he's got like 16,000 passing yards. So, yeah, but the point is well taken. It's a hell of a list over it. That is almost the group of quarterbacks that spans that tenure. So that is saying something that almost every one of your guys has made the list.
Yeah, Eric Bates on Twitter at EJBBand21 says Baker, because of the ice that runs through his veins and bravado he carries himself with to get it done. See, we're kind of on the same page there. Glenn Warshaw at GW Sooner says Baker Mayfield, he is clutch. He just knows how to win, really knows how to get his players excited to play. Baker could convince the team to run through a brick wall. And then our man at Cool Your Crits, hey, at Cool Your Crits is back. He says Sam Bradford, his deep ball was on the money. Sad the injury bug plagued him. And then you did have an ally in at Billy Bob's dad on Twitter, Ted, who said, "Don't sleep on Jay White."
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things is what was Baker's biggest win at Ohio State?
Yeah,
And I don't even know what second is. Some maybe the Baylor game in Waco in was that 15 when they were top 5 or top 10. Um, I don't know, but some of those you got to kind of look back and say who was the best in some of those big football games, and unfortunately, Jay White, the USC game, the LSU K State game, those are not great representations. I don't know. We could probably spend all night going back and looking at some of
Bradford
the
was
bigger
pretty
games.
decent against Florida. It was just the red zone.
Yeah.
They couldn't run the ball in the end zone. I mean,
Yep.
I guess Baker had the biggest win out of everybody at Ohio State, maybe.
Yeah,
That's
but here's what's a little bit tainted about that is how horrible Texas has been during Baker and Kyler's tenure, because during Jay White's and Sam's tenure and a little bit of Landry's, Texas was really good. Like Jason probably played Texas as a top 5 football game every time he played it, or top 10.
yeah.
So
People forget that Texas was really, really, really
there
good,
was a
and
time it was a good program
I
for a
think they're headed
brief little.
back that way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm a Sark believer. I've told you this. I'm not proud of it, people, but I think we're headed that way. Okay, Ted, let's get to our interview with Mike Stoops. Was really fun to catch up with Mike. But first, let's talk money. First Fidelity Bank is a full-service financial institution based in Oklahoma with tailored solutions for all your personal and business needs. Checking accounts, saving accounts, home loans, and much more. They do it all. Whether it's online banking from your computer or mobile banking from your phone, everything is stress-free with FFB. Making mobile deposits, paying bills online, and moving money to different accounts could not be easier. First Fidelity Bank also provides free ATMs worldwide, making banking convenient wherever you are. They also give back to the community. FFB donates a total of more than $500,000 to local charities and educational foundations. Make your life easier and go bank at First Fidelity Bank. Visit ffb.com for more information. And don't forget to go buy some rock and roll tequila. Rock and roll tequila is the ultra premium tequila that hits all the right notes. It's won all kinds of awards for its superior taste and smooth finish. To find a store that has it, visit rockandrolltequila.com or check out their Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. This stuff is fantastic. If you don't want to take our word for it, maybe you'll listen to this guy.
This is Coach Bob Stoops. When you're a college football coach, it's important to have an eye for talent. The same holds true when choosing your tequila. When I tried rock and roll, I liked it so much, I decided to become a partner in this Oklahoma-owned company. Crafted in the highlands of Jalisco, Mexico, the smooth taste of rock and roll's triple distilled platinum, our añejo, called Cristalino, and the incredible premium quality mango tequila are awesome. Our defiantly unique guitar-shaped bottles make it easy to find, and you'll love the ultra-premium quality and taste. No excuses. Make rock and roll your game day tequila. Tastefully rebellious, start the party with rock and roll.
It is our pleasure to be joined by the new defensive coordinator at Florida Atlantic University. Mike Stoops is in the house. What's going on, Mike?
Just enjoying another beautiful day here in Boca. So it's been a kind of crazy month, but really kind of settled in here and excited to get started with spring football. So we start tomorrow, and excited to get on the field and see what these guys can do.
I guess it's a little bit better to get started this year than last year because of all the craziness and the protocols and spring ball canceled. That was a crazy year. I mean, it doesn't mean that this year is going to be normal, but it looks like it may be a little bit more normal than last year.
Yeah, I don't think anyone I don't know if anyone really expected us to play, probably, looking back where we were almost a year ago today. I remember being at Alabama, and we were just leaving for spring break, and we were trying to, see if, we'd even see our players, or when the next time we'd see our players would be, because I think that's when everything, that was right around middle of March. And, everything kind of went off the rails, and, players stayed home for the rest of the semester. And I think we finally got them back in May or June, but it was a very, very crazy year. And, I was just grateful that we were able to play, and being in the Southeastern Conference, and then, be part of another, national championship, and being able to, spend another year, with Coach Saban and the rest of their staff.
Mike, I definitely want to talk about, what you're doing now, and, getting a new job there at FAU. But I'm so interested in the path you've been on since you were let go at Oklahoma there in 2018 after that Texas game, because I think you've worked extremely hard to get back to being a defensive coordinator in college football. So I just wanted to start here, going back to that experience where you were let go at OU. Like, obviously it was disappointing. I'm sure it was also motivating in a weird way, but how did that affect you?
Well, when you fall that far, you'd be crazy to say it didn't affect you. I think it affects you in a lot of ways for, a lot of reasons. I think you certainly obviously have to, look inside and try to figure out, what went wrong, and, what you could have done better, put yourself in a better situation. So, sometimes you have to go backwards to go forward, and I wasn't beyond that, and had a couple opportunities to go to different places, and was talking to Coach Saban about something else, and we were talking about what I was going to do, and I said, "But Coach, I'd much rather go with you if I could." And it was just he's just so much respect for him in so many different ways, and his wife, Miss Taryn, he called me back 5 minutes, and I don't know what he had to maybe check out with the athletic director, and and called me back and said, come on, and I did that. It was probably just over 2 years and probably a month now, or whatever it was, but probably the smartest thing one of the greatest decisions I think I ever made, to go there, to be able to just, process, what had happened, where we went wrong, put to test, what we were doing defensively opposed to what they were doing and what was different. Because I always studied Coach Saban and what he did defensively. And, they have tremendous players. Everybody knows that, but, they're extremely well coached. They're very fundamental, very disciplined, and, they play the right way. And so being able to just, sit there and, take notes day after day after day, I always felt like I was getting better and smarter and wiser, and, things that, we could have done better, where we made mistakes, where I made mistakes, where I could have, helped myself. So you're just kind of processing that and seeing how he does it and how methodically it's done, how he uses, time during the day, how he schedules things, why he schedules things this way. And I really learned a great deal my first year, and because it's a very complicated and it's a very sophisticated, defense, but, it just takes time and understanding and understanding terminology. And so, really, learned a lot. Pete Golding, the defensive coordinator, is a really good friend. And I had a lot of other friends, Charles. So I knew coaches on the staff. So they, made me they're very welcoming to me. And, so it made it very comfortable. And, sometimes they look at you from afar better than people look at you close up. And so they were, so you go in there with some, I don't want to say, what's the word I'm looking for? You go in with some collateral, or you've been at the top. They know you've coached at a very high level and have won, many, many championships and have been in, a lot of big games. So, so that it was fun, and I enjoyed, the process. But the second year, the learning just accelerates, and you pick up on it even more and more. So the first 2 years being with a guy in a staff like that was, very rewarding, and I think very beneficial for me. And it's never, you're never, too late to learn. And in football, you're learning all the time. Football changes, schemes change, offenses change. And so it really gave me a lot more confidence, because I didn't have a great deal of confidence when I left Oklahoma. And he does a great job of, if you go in there with the right attitude, you're going to come out of there a much better person and a much better coach.
How was it? You're one of the most competitive people I've ever seen in my life. And it doesn't really matter what it is. Ultra competitive. You love the intensity. You love being in the fire. And you've been in the fire for a long time. DC at Kansas State, then to Oklahoma, straight into being a head coach, then right back to being a defensive coordinator. Was it hard to step back away from the field and away from the kind of the day in, day out grind with the players and everything? Was it good to step back, or, was it hard to step away from that and have a little more off the field type of role?
That was the hardest part. There's no question about that, Teddy. Just being, in front and having to do it. But I don't know, the last year or so, you got, being at Oklahoma, I just got gutted in a lot of ways. So it was good for me to kind of step back and, kind of, regroup.
Get the hunger again.
But yeah, and just learn, know when you go back in it that you could be better and you could be different. And that's probably where I think the time off there helps you. But yeah, it was definitely hard not to be a, coach of any particular group and just be in a support role. But, that was okay. That wasn't beyond me to do something like that. And that, I think that shows humility and, you improvement, and that's okay. So I think I came out of it a much better, person and a better coach. it was a big sacrifice, but I think in the long run, I think it'll pay huge dividends, for me personally.
Mike, I think a lot of people see the term analyst, and especially a guy that's been where you've been as a football coach at the level you've been there, like we just wonder what you were doing on a day-to-day basis. People want to joke about, that it's the coaching rehab facility that Nick Saban's running there at Alabama, but he's got a bunch of smart football minds there. So I'm just curious, like on a day-to-day basis, what was your role within that Alabama program?
Well, Coach Saban is very smart in what he does, and everything he does, there's a reason for it. And from the minute he wakes up in the morning till the minute he goes, to bed, there's a reason for, each second in the day. But and even, the coaches he wants there, I mean, he didn't have to take me in or, whatever, but, he was a friend for a long time. And so I was fortunate enough to be with him and to be able to experience this. But as an analyst, you do a lot of different things. I mean, I would, break down games just like I was the defensive coordinator. And, Pete Golding became a very close friend of mine. And, as you see this, I see this. I mean, so I wanted to still go into it like I was a defensive coordinator. So I would think and try to use their scheme opposed to what we did in certain, some of it's similar, some of it isn't. So you go into it with that frame of mind, because you're going to go into a meeting too with him Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, and you're going to be asked to, how do you see, what do you guys seen? He obviously sees everything. He's a brilliant mind. His ability to see everything is really unbelievable. So, but you want to go in there prepared, and you want to, if there's something you want to say, I mean, then you go in and say it. So it's very, it's very open, but he's running the meeting. Let's get that straight. And, you just want to be able to contribute. It's funny, as an analyst, I felt like I was under not pressure, but I wanted to be prepared every day. And that's what he does. He brings out the best of everybody every single day. And that's what a great coach does. And whether you're a player or an analyst, everybody has a role. Everybody does it. And you do your role. And mine was, whether it was contributing some way there or mine was short yardage and goal line. Everybody has a little, part of it to, specialize and do certain things to get your team prepared. So, that's kind of what you do. You go about it just like you're a normal coach. There ain't anything different. You just can't coach players, at any time during, when you're an analyst. So that's that's the trade-off. But for me, I wanted to get it all because, I like I told you guys, if I'm going to spend the time there, I'm going to try to get everything I can, philosophically, practice schedules, motivation, everything. And that's, what I was able to do. I think I have 20 some notebooks that I filled, with notes, diagrams, plays, just so I could keep my mind, in the right place from a football perspective.
I mean, I know you like to golf. You could step away and enjoy yourself doing some other things, away from the facility or away from the game of football for a little bit. But does Saban ever turn the psycho football coach off, or is it 24/7, 365? That's all he can think about and process. Can he relax and let his guard down at all? He
does, definitely. Coach says loves the boat, but he loves the golf too. He's probably played more golf in the last few years than, probably I would say he ever has. He had his hip fixed a couple years ago, but ever since that, he loves to play. He's very competitive on the golf course. So he gets away from it. And when he's away, he's away. But when he's at work, it's all business. And he runs it, it's a lot like a professional organization. Everybody has a job to do. Everybody's job is defined, and you go in there and you do it, every day. And, it's a beautiful thing to watch. And it was great to be a part of. I was very thankful to be, let in and to see how it all, goes. And there's a lot to learn. And, he has really, mastered the art of efficiency and time and all of that. It's just, everything runs like clockwork. His installation, Teddy and Gabe, how he installs things and why he installs it this way is, it really, everything makes a lot of sense. So, really, really fun, and very enlightening and probably, like I said earlier, probably, one of the smartest things I could have done. I wish I had done it 20 years ago, but never too late.
Mike, you mentioned the scheme and being able to understand what they were doing from a schematic standpoint. I'm sure the evaluation of players was also something that you took a lot of notes on, but you've talked a lot about the way that you interacted with players your last couple of years there at Oklahoma. Did you learn anything that you think that you'll change about the way you approach players from your time at Alabama? Like, you're never going to be able to turn that intensity completely off, right? But do you feel like you learned some things when it comes to interacting with your guys that can be helpful for you?
Definitely. I think, coaches, there's probably nobody more competitive than him. And that shows sometimes, but, he doesn't, he doesn't get to that point unless it's something that's really, really bothered him. So, just learning how to be more patient, I think is key, and being able to be in control and not let your it's like he always says, you can have emotion, but don't be emotional. And if you get emotional, then you lose, control. And that's when, things don't go, the way you want them to do. So, there's always things that I think you can improve, self-improvement as well. And that's something I picked up on, some of those things with other coaches there, and, how patient some of these guys are. And it's a very complicated scheme, and it just, takes time and repetitions, and, they'll get it eventually. And, there's the pressure there at the end, I think, gets to everybody, and probably let it, got to me probably way too much. And, and that's something that you got to learn from, and trust what and have confidence in what and, do the best you can, and be happy with that. I think that's, I think it's a lesson for everybody. And, but unfortunately everybody gets blamed for, this or that. And it's, it's hard not to take that personal at times. And that's something I think, for me personally, it's something I have, had to deal with and for whatever reason. And, I feel much better, about starting over, and, feel better about the place I'm at and around the people I'm around too. I got a great group of guys and great group of coaches. So, I'm just excited to be able to apply what if that makes sense, Gabe, what you learned, over 2 years. It's the application that makes you who you are, you know what I mean? And what you are, and what you can get your players to understand and believe in and trust in. And those are the things I'm going to have to get through to our players. And, it's not what's in those notebooks. It's how you apply it, how you teach it, how you coach it, and how confident your players are in it. And that's always the task as a coach.
So take us through the route to get there to Florida Atlantic. You guys win the national championship, and then a little bit before that, Sarkisian is offered the Texas job. He takes it, and then it looked like you were going to go to Texas as a position coach. For whatever reason, that ended up not happening, and a couple of days goes by, and you end up there at Florida Atlantic. Kind of take us through that journey and what all that was like at the end of last season to where you are now.
Well, that was a difficult, week or so. I mean, you're always anxious, and no matter what anybody says, you're not anywhere until you sign it on the dotted line. So, that was, there's a lot of speculation there. There was just some other, what was the most, the hardest part of the whole deal is that there were some other opportunities, and there were some opportunities a year ago that I just didn't, it just wasn't the right timing for me, that I felt I could improve myself staying another year, at Alabama. So, I decided not to take a couple jobs a year ago and didn't really, try hard. I wanted to really, master and know what this defense is all about inside and out. And so, I ended up passing on some of those jobs. And then, there's, that opportunity, I hoped was there, but it wasn't. And, you just kind of move on. And, I turned down some other jobs and was hoping that would came through, and it didn't. And then, Charlie Strong, of all people, one of, a guy I shared an office with for a year. I had known Willie Taggart, Coach Taggart, for, I guess 3 years or so. I had talked to him about the Florida State defensive coordinator job 3 years ago. So, and then, Charlie told me, that, he talked to Willie and was interested. And I said, I'd love to work for him. We had talked, I told him the situation that happened, with, I guess it's a year that, I don't know what, maybe 17 or something like that, when he took Florida State. So, me and Coach started talking, and, I ended up here and really have been, blessed to be here and to work with a great group. I've been really impressed with the players, their intelligence, their desire to learn, to be coached. It's been, a really amazing group of players. What I've seen and through workouts over the last, I guess, 3 or 4 weeks. I guess I've been here probably a month now. So it's been, it's really been a blessing. I think, things happen for a reason, Teddy, and, I think for whatever reason, this is where I was supposed to be. And you really never look back. I'm excited about, being able to apply everything and see, for the most part, what I've learned. And like I said, the application of it is going to get put to the test right off the bat against Florida here in about 6 months. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Now,
that was a joke. You didn't know whether to laugh or not.
No, I do. They're going to have a talented group. There's no doubt, Mike. But I will say this about the whole Texas situation, man. You would have looked weird in burnt orange anyway. So I'm glad that you ended up there in Boca. Now, I am curious.
I've probably been.
Go ahead.
No, it's nothing.
I'm just so interested in, because you said you guys start spring ball tomorrow. So what's the philosophy look like defensively? Because obviously you're not going to abandon everything you've done in the past and just implement what you've learned over the last 2 years. I assume it's kind of a hybrid of what you really have believed in the past, and then some of the things you've learned recently, right?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I look at, a lot of things we did at Oklahoma, Coach, it's Coach Saban in Alabama. They have everything. They've done everything. I mean, he's taught and coached, but, there's basic principles that the defense, has to abide by to be successful. And, those are, obviously, being able to play hard and understand your responsibility and tackle well and, create turnovers, all the things. But those are critical factors to playing, really well on defense. And that's something that, I'm really looking forward to trying to instill all those things in our players. But, schemes are schemes, but, getting there are no perfect calls. I used to tell Teddy that all the time. It's the players that play them and the way they play them make them perfect calls. And that's really the truth behind the story of it all. If they're playing the right way and they're playing with their hair on fire and they're, executing at the level, doing their job, everything is going to, everything kind of falls into place. And, the calls seem to be all right. They're always good when you're playing at a certain level. But if you're not playing at that level, nothing seems to, you can't call anything right. So, those are important. Like I said, those are factors and fundamentals defensively that, we're going to try to build on starting tomorrow.
Should be a lot of talent. I mean, you're in a good spot. Florida is just packed full of football players and athletes. So that's going to be one of the critical parts, obviously, is getting good players in there. And you think that's going to be something you guys are going to have success at, being right there kind of in the heart of Florida, being able to kind of recruit all over the state?
I think so. I think, and then, the transfer portal is going to be something that's going to be, really important. I've only been here a month. I'm got our defensive players down. Now I'm going to starting tomorrow, work on our offensive players. So, it's, there's some talented players, but, there's certain areas that you always want to improve on. And, we'll know a little bit more about, I will anyway, about, what kind of players we have. But, you're always looking for bigger, stronger, faster guys. And sometimes it's easier to get some guys that have played at this level. But I think there's a fine line. You still want to be able to develop players within your program. And that's something that, I think at a place like Florida Atlantic, you really have to be measured in your approach that way. And it's something I'm really interested in and get a better feel of our players and where they're at and, what other teams have in this league too. I don't have a great feel, being here yet, what the competition's like and really what your players are capable at. Like I said, I've never seen them practice. Tomorrow will be the first time that I will have an opportunity to see him practice in practice. I mean, running around in gym shorts is one thing, but being able to execute a call and a technique and be able to get lined up, it'll be interesting to see, how the kids handle all those things.
Mike, Teddy firmly believes that RPOs are tools of Satan. And I'm just so interested because the offense at Bama had so many built in and they were so effective for the 2 years you were there. So, I mean, is there a way to stop these schemes or is it just something where you try to contain them as much as possible? Like, what's the approach? Because I'm sure you guys saw them every single day there in practice in Tuscaloosa.
We can start by getting the officials to call illegal man downfield. That'd be a good way to start in stopping them.
I've said, Dusty, I said that what 10 years ago, and everyone laughed at me. You know what I mean? It's just insane. And to have linemen down, how are guys supposed to read run or pass when the lineman's down there 3 yards? or 4 yards, and they say that's okay. That's absurd
Yeah, Gabe,
to me.
tell us how we're supposed to do that on defense when you
You're
guys
not.
are.
You're
how you
supposed
can-
to, you're
how
supposed
you
to get
can
picked
read, run,
apart
or
and like
pass.
it.
So I know it's like, this is like video football now. And then they can block guys behind the line of scrimmage. You can block a guy downfield if you throw the ball behind the line of scrimmage. You know how many plays we've seen like that make no sense. I mean, it's just really, it's disturbing for a guy that, has coached defense their whole life. But they're very difficult to stop. You have to mix in some trap coverage, cut the, send the star, let them think they have something and change the look on them. So there's ways you got to just keep the quarterback thinking, making sure he doesn't feel like he always has that safe and easy throw. But 2 years ago, I would say with Tua, we probably used the RPOs probably a little more than we did. I thought Mac Jones did a great job off the play action game this past year, getting big shot plays, down the field. So when you can run the football too effectively, I think that, you're pushing more guys towards the line of scrimmage, and that, usually you got a heavy box in there, and they're going to, that's when they're going to throw them. So they're very difficult. They put your guys in, kind of a little bit of a disadvantage, but your guys up front, if they can, stop the run with one less guy and be able to, have an extra guy back there in coverage, certainly helps as well. And at Alabama, that was, a part of our defense always was to try to, not overcommit so many guys to the run where you could still give yourself a chance to stop the RPOs.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a brutal deal, which I always say that offense is always just find a way to cheat the defense, and that's just how they build on it. But I think this is an interesting deal that I've talked with some people lately. Do you think that college football players are more prepared coming into college right now than they've ever been? It feels like with some of the 7-on-7 camps and stuff like that, that they're already on a higher level than they have been in the past.
Well, being at Alabama, the last 2 years, I think I think those things have helped Teddy, but I also think I want to say we got 13 or 15 of our 25 guys in at midterm, and to go through spring ball, I think is the most critical element of development because you don't know what you don't know until you get on the field, if that makes sense. I mean, you don't know, you think you're this, you think you're the size and speed and the strength until you get on the field and have to match it. I don't think kids really understand that, and that helps them prepare when they come back in the fall to be able to go through the whole spring, understand the defense, because there's so much learning that goes along with it. And it's hard to play the way you want to play because you're always thinking. I think those things, and then understanding the size, speed, and the intensity that you have to play and compete at. I think those are all things kids learn early on in their career. If they're smart, they'll know that, man, this is a lot different. This is not like high school. It really isn't. When you get on the field, you have to forget a lot and rethink and redevelop, how you play and your techniques. You're not going to get away with just being big. You got to be, as up front, and Gabe knows, how technical you have to be in the game. So, that's a big part of it. And learning, you just can't overpower a player in these leagues. I mean, you have to learn how to, use your feet, use leverage, use your hands, all those things. And, I think kids, that part of I'm looking at it as, from the, the big positions. I think definitely the skill positions are, the receivers probably have the biggest, opportunity, but people don't realize the receivers, how complicated the schemes are when they get into college too. The movements, the X is on here, the Z is on here. You're going to motion in here and create a stack here. There's just a lot there, and that's where sometimes players will get overwhelmed just by the totality of an offense. But so there's just so much learning. But I think kids physically, I think, are better, probably more equipped, but mentally it's still a huge challenge for players. And then, like we were talking about earlier, I'm probably babbling, but the technique from a big athletic position, whether it's I would say defensive line, a big athletic offensive line doesn't sound great, but I guess there are some.
Mike, man,
that was another joke. If you guys didn't, you could.
We got that one. Kidding. Mike, we're fired up for you, man. We're fired up for your new opportunity. We're gonna be rooting for FAU hard, man. So
every defensive coordinator's dream, Coach. You got Air Force. Here we go.
Hey. Hopefully they won't have the ball 45 or 46 or whatever minutes they had it against Army. But if we could still win the game, that'd be the biggest. That'd be the biggest thing. So yeah, I'm gonna have to. I don't know if I'm gonna break out that Army tape or not. Probably not. I think we're gonna go a different direction.
Well, congrats, Mike, and we really appreciate the time, man. This was fun.
Appreciate you guys for having me.
Thanks, Coach.
Man, I'm just excited for Mike. I know that last couple years probably a little rough, but sounds like he's re-energized, Ted.
No, there's no doubt about it. Selfishly, I'm very glad that he did not end up at Texas. He's down there at Florida Atlantic. That there's some good things that you can do there. They're in a good spot recruiting wise. He mentioned the transfer portal. I bet they're going to be a big player in trying to get some guys from other schools. So like we said, a couple of good years there at Florida Atlantic, who knows what he could open himself up to.
Yeah. And I assume that Willie Taggart has quite the chip on his shoulder after what happened at Florida State. Mike undoubtedly quite the chip on his shoulder. So maybe that staff will be invigorated.
Hungry.
Be interesting to see. Okay, let's move on to our segments. But first, do you own a business? If you do, you need Insurica in your life. Insurica is one of the country's largest insurance brokers with 30 offices throughout Oklahoma, Texas, and the Southwest. Insurica is able to customize programs by accessing the latest information from many insurance carriers. They compare and contrast coverage offerings and pricing in order to design a cost-effective, comprehensive program to meet your business's specific needs. Insurica's clients become best-in-class businesses by working with Insurica's team of advisors to manage risk. Purchasing insurance is only one way to protect your business. Best-in-class businesses win by avoiding a loss in the first place. If your business partners with Insurica, you'll save huge amounts of money and take back control of your total cost of risk. I'm an Insurica client, and you should be too. If your business wants to be best in class, connect with Insurica at Insurica.com. That's INSURICA.com. Tell them we sent you. And also connect with our friends at Advanced Weight Loss Clinic of Sand Springs. They'll help you execute a realistic and achievable weight loss plan designed for you and only you. They've got all kinds of treatments for men and women. Their licensed and trained experts combine diet and exercise with hormone therapies to maximize your results. If you're struggling with low libido or low energy, Advanced Weight Loss Clinic of Sand Springs can help with that too. They also offer Botox and fillers. To get on the path to losing weight, call 918-241-LOSE or visit their Facebook page. If you mention the podcast, you will get a free fat burner injection. Nice. All right, Ted, let's go straight to Football Guys Talkin Basketball. Little FGTB, an absolute Bedlam classic in Norman on Saturday. Now, unfortunately, the good guys did not come home or did not stay home with the win. Oklahoma State wins on the road 94-90 over Oklahoma in overtime. And it was one of my favorite college basketball games to watch of the season, maybe my favorite. And not just because it was OU OSU, not just because it was a great game, but the style was so aesthetically pleasing. Too often we watch college basketball, there's a million fouls called. The offense is disjointed. Teams are playing zone defense. It's just boring and painful to watch. But this game, it was free-flowing offense for both sides. Oklahoma State hardly played any of that 2-3 zone that they've played a lot this season because OU executed so well offensively against it that they were like, you know what? We're not jumping in it. There's no point. So it was man-to-man defense for both teams. It flowed like an NBA game, and there's only one place to start, and that's Cade Cunningham. What a performance by that young man. One of the best performances in the history of Bedlam basketball. Scored the 10 in overtime, ends up with 40, and did it against some really solid defense from Elijah Harkless. Also had the 11 rebounds, had some big defensive plays, especially late. Ted, Cade Cunningham was absolutely fantastic.
No, he was. He did a really good job of creating shots. He hit some big league shots now. Some of those step back, creating a little bit of space between he and the defender was really nice. He got to the rim. He got some second chance points. He can handle the ball really well. And whenever the defense really caved in on him, he did a good job of finding some open guys who hit some big time shots for him. So, I mean, he was the difference in the basketball game. And, clearly going into it, that if you're going to beat Oklahoma State, if you can limit Cade Cunningham, I mean, he's going to get his. He's, if not the leading scorer in the Big 12, he's right there knocking on the door.
He's the leader.
Yeah. So he's going to get his. But if you can keep him from going off and scoring 40, you got a lot better chance of, whenever you put it on some of the other guys. But like I mentioned, some of the other guys did hit some big time shots for him. I mean, because here's the thing: whenever you look at the box score, they scored 94 points and they got 7 points off the bench. Oklahoma State did. So it was a Cade Cunningham show through and through. So credit the guy. I mean, that's why they were desperate to get him there. That's why it created as much buzz as it did whenever he went there. He's as advertised, man.
Yeah, you mentioned that they had other guys hit big shots. I thought Avery Anderson III hit some big shots for them in that game, but I thought the unsung hero for Oklahoma State was Bryce Williams. Those threes he hit in the second half were huge for the Cowboys, especially for the momentum in that game. I mean, I thought that those were maybe the biggest shots of the game until we got to overtime. I thought him stepping up in that second half for them was massive. But looking at how some of the OU guys played, I did think that OU played well in the first half. I thought Davion Harmon did some really good things. I thought he was really efficient. He took advantage of Isaac Likely not playing in that game, ends up with 23 points. I thought that was one of his better games of the year. I guess the question is, did Austin Reeves play well? Because he put up numbers. You look at it, he's got 22 and 8 assists. That's a solid day, but he made some really bad decisions in overtime. Didn't give up the ball probably when he should. Got really frustrated. Even had a frustrated, the good old frustration foul in overtime on Cade Cunningham. I think he just he let his emotions get the best of him a little bit and didn't make the best decisions in that OT.
No, I agree. But he did what he always does is generates offense. I mean, it's maybe not always the best way to go about it. There'll be possessions where he dribbles the ball for about 15 seconds on his own and then finally drives to the lane and shoots a wild layup and either, gets the foul call or, we're in trouble and we're out going the other way. It's one of those things that's we really don't have a great way to generate offense other than that. So it can be frustrating at times, but, he gets to the foul line. We don't have anyone else on our team that gets to the foul line and gets, some of the charity stripe numbers that he does. He shot 9 free throws. Next highest on the team was 3 with Gibson, whenever he hit the 3 foul shots, whenever he was fouled. there
Yeah,
late. So
Gibson hit some big shots. He did. I thought he seems to have made that a common occurrence in OU games. Like if he is open, he's going to make people pay. The guy can absolutely shoot the lights out from three.
well, they've been great whenever he's 50% from three. They've been really good, and he hit that number. So usually that's been a big piece of their success is when he's 50%, they win the basketball game. But this one, we weren't able to. You know, the real thing in this game was the massive rebounding discrepancy between the two teams. We got pushed around inside, and they absolutely owned the glass.
Yeah, I thought that was rough, especially all those offensive rebounds for Oklahoma State to give them extra possessions, extra shots, and when Cade Cunningham was
In critical
like
moments.
That. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So a tough loss for Oklahoma. I will say once again, but an absolute delight of a game to watch. I know they lost, but it was high scoring. It was free flowing. It felt. I know there wasn't a ton of NBA players on the court, maybe just one, if we're being honest, with Cade Cunningham, but it did flow like an NBA game, and I enjoyed it immensely. And we'll run it back Monday night, 8:00. Let's do it again. Hopefully it's similar, Ted. I would love a replay of that, but this time with the Sooners winning.
Right. Yeah. The dreaded sweep. It hasn't happened a whole lot over the last, I don't know, however many years, 20 years or so. Rarely has Oklahoma State swept us, and rarely have they beat us in our place. So we've got to avoid that. I don't know who the quick turnaround favors. You may just have to say it favors Oklahoma State since we're going to their place and they just won the last game. So I don't know. It would be nice to turn that around because there's some big implications down the stretch. We don't want to lose out, to close out the season. So it's going to be a fun one. Big Monday, baby. Let's go.
I would assume Cade Cunningham's not going to score 40 again. So I'm going to go with the quick turnaround benefits Oklahoma. That makes no sense, but whatever.
The score proves that if you can hold him to around 36, then you have a good chance of maybe winning the basketball game. I don't know. I think it probably favors Oklahoma State considering they're going to have the best player on the floor again, and it's going to be in their house.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I just don't really know. This is what I'll say. I don't really know what adjustments Oklahoma can make. Right? I mean, if he's going to hit some of the shots, like you just say, oh, okay, I guess you can run two guys at him and force him to give up the ball, but then you're going to give up some easy baskets doing that. I don't know. So we'll see, but I'm excited to watch it again. I know that.
Yeah. Well, and you brought the point up. I think one of the critical things is Cade Cunningham got his, but whenever he kicked it to open guys, they hit some big time shots. So if those role players maybe don't hit as many of those, that could benefit Oklahoma. So I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, one thing we have to talk about for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, they got destroyed by the Nuggets Saturday night, which is all good, right? Losses, not the worst thing in the world. But Friday night, they were the talk of the sports world momentarily, Ted, because and it was because they got the win over the Hawks. But there was an absolutely hilarious jersey fiasco. Everyone that was watching knew something was wrong when the Thunder were wearing their sunset, whatever they want to call it. It's orange. And the Hawks were wearing a very vibrant red. And they didn't contrast at all. There was no contrast at all. We all complained about it, but we had all accepted it and been like, well, this game's just going to be miserable to watch. But then it actually comes out that the Hawks brought the wrong jerseys, and it was so damn funny when the Thunder came out in white jerseys in the second half. I could not stop laughing. And I will say this, the white with the Hawks red, it was a beautiful jersey matchup from that point on. It was a nice contrast. It was very easy on the eyes after our eyes were bleeding for that entire first half.
Well, a couple of things. Number one, as bad as it was, it still is not anywhere as bad as Kansas State's jerseys were the other night whenever we played them up in Manhattan. That was god awful. I hope I never have to see that again. The other thing is, I feel bad for that poor equipment guy because it was on him for packing the wrong jerseys. And as soon as they took the court, his heart had to sink and think, oh my God, I
What have I
screwed this
done?
up royally. So, nah, that was pretty funny. Yeah, color rush in the NBA. Here we go. Let's get it, right?
You feel bad for Atlanta's equipment guy. Again, I feel bad for the Thunder's equipment guys. They had to wash 2 jerseys that night.
Fair point. Fair
Actually,
point.
they probably left someone inside at halftime, like, hey, just start the load on the sunsets. But hey, don't forget, equipment guys, they're extremely important. Okay, Ted, let's move on to our winners and losers of the weekend. But first, Riverwind. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience. There are temperature screenings at all entrances, and masks are required for all patrons and employees because your safety is Riverwind's #1 priority. There are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack, blackjack match, roulette, and craps. Teddy, you played any craps at Riverwind lately?
Yes, I have actually, Gabriel.
Really?
That's right. I like to throw the dice every now and then. You know that.
How'd it go?
It went okay for one of us, not me.
All right. Okay.
But
Well,
you know what? I had a heck of a time.
Well, there you go. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. If you need help finding your way, just visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the one. And Teddy, don't forget to send your kids to Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School. You other people too. Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School has a long tradition of educational excellence. They know that children need to be in school and are doing everything possible to make that happen. Bishop McGinnis students were welcomed back last August and saw very few interruptions in 2020. With a 12-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio, no student is overlooked. Bishop McGinnis's college prep curriculum offers 22 AP courses. If you want to provide the best possible educational and spiritual development for your children, contact Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School or visit bmchs.org. Financial aid is available. Okay, Ted, let's start it. You started off. Who do you have as your winner of the weekend?
I'm going to have to go with J.J. Watt. I know I've been hitting a lot of these recently, but I'm just loving NFL free agency right now. Here you've got a guy that at one time was the premier defensive player in the league, isn't anymore. And honestly, I don't even know where he is on the list. But there's a couple of favorites that have emerged. The Green Bay Packers are the betting favorite out of Las Vegas, plus 175. The Cleveland Browns are on the list. Bills, Titans, even the Steelers are on the list where obviously his brother TJ Watt plays. But JJ Watt, this is like a curtain call moment for him. I think he's past his prime, still an effective player, but he's getting a whole bunch of fanfare. He's getting courted by all these teams in the NFL. He's probably going to make between $15 and $18 million a year, depending on the contract that he signs. And he gets to pick to go to a place that's going to be an instant winner, like a Green Bay or a Buffalo or one of those places. I know Green Bay seems like the natural kind of fit, played at Wisconsin. Where do you think he's going to end up? Would you rather go to a place like Green Bay where you think you've got a really good shot, or Steelers to play with your brother?
He played at Wisconsin. He's also from Wisconsin, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
So you have to factor that in. Man, I think you got a better chance to win in Green Bay, right? With Aaron Rodgers. Now I know maybe Big Ben's healthy next year, but I feel like you got a way better chance, especially with how competitive the AFC North is. I feel like you got a way better chance to win in Green Bay than in Pittsburgh. Maybe I'm crazy.
I agree. And it depends what some of the numbers look like contract-wise, which I would say to J.J. Watt, a guy that's made a ton of money in his life right now, you can probably make up the difference in contract with what you would benefit wise, likeness wise, if you were to win a Super Bowl. So let's say
I mean,
Titans
he's also made an unbelievable
Right.
amount of money, like not just from his contracts, but his endorsements. I mean,
Sure.
he's made a ton in endorsements.
and as a player of his stature, what's left is checking the boxes of doing big things in the postseason. So winning a Super Bowl for him would be massive, and that's why I think he ends up in Green Bay. But obviously, I don't know. I don't have any inside information. I don't know who he's met with or talked with. But I feel like he's going to go to Green Bay. It will take some time because I've never really seen him in another jersey other than the Texans jersey. It'd be weird to see him in Green Bay jersey, but I think it'd be a good fit. Obviously, they need more premier defensive players.
Yeah, and I'll say this about JJ Watt. At one point, he was an absolute terror, and he still has some of those moments, right? But he has become so much more likable over the last couple of years that I think I'm even at a point where I'm rooting for JJ Watt to land somewhere and make a deep playoff run, because it would just be fun to see. It's fun when the guys that were truly great get those opportunities. So I'm kind of rooting for JJ Watt. What's wrong with me, Ted? What's happening?
I don't know. I don't know that I am yet. I can only watch a guy go backdoor on some
Stay
plays
in your gap, JJ.
so many times. And I think, and I don't know how you felt, but the hard knocks with the Texans, I felt like he was
That was
a
the peak.
performer more than a football player. Like it was all about showing off for the cameras and trying to be that guy every single day. It was pretty brutal to watch.
Yeah. You're not the only one. Literally no one enjoyed watching him act that way. I don't even think he enjoyed act. I've actually heard him talk about it a little bit. It's pretty funny to hear him talk about it. But yeah, it's gotten a lot better since then. I'm confident in saying that. Okay, Ted, who is your loser of the weekend?
Unfortunately, I've got to go with Sooners. And it's about the bracketology. Now, going into the weekend, whenever you look at Lenardi's bracketology, and obviously it's not 100%, but he does a really good job with it. The region they were in, they were the 3 seed, and they were in the region with Ohio State as the 1, which I personally believe is the current weakest 1 seed that there is.
Agreed.
Alabama was the 2 seed. We've already got a head-to-head win over Alabama. I think that team is really falling apart recently. You had Kansas was the 4. Oklahoma obviously was the 3. Kansas was the 4 seed. They're playing a lot better basketball now, but not the Kansas that you're used to. It was by far the best region, and you look at it, it's like, oh my gosh, if this actually would happen, Oklahoma has a real chance of making a deep tournament run. But with back-to-back losses, Kansas State, which is maybe one of the worst losses as the number 7 team in the country, maybe one of the worst losses in all of college basketball this year, and then you lose at home against Oklahoma State. They need this win big time on Monday, because it's already going to affect them big time whenever it comes to the next bracketology. And I know this is just a look at it, but it's a pretty good indicator of where they're going to be. They were looking beautiful, and I don't know if they're going to get back to that good of a look as they had.
Yeah, maybe if they, win a couple games and then win a couple in the Big 12 tournament, maybe they can get back to that exact position. Because, yeah, the scenario you laid out before they had a bad week, that sounds like about as good as it can be. Right?
It was beautiful.
Oh, that hurts.
Absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
Rough week for Sooners basketball.
We could turn it. There's still time to turn it around, and I know that obviously Kansas now is going to win the Big 12 tournament, right? Scumbags, but hey.
Did you see those red jerseys they wore? Do you like them?
That was horrible. No,
you didn't like them. I still can't decide if I liked it. By the way, I picked Kansas to win that game. I knew they were going to win that game.
It
Baylor
kind of
was in a
felt
horrible
like it,
spot there,
the
but
way that they were playing everything. I'll just say this: the red jersey as a standalone, I thought it was fine. I thought it was a decent look, but for a home game against one of the top teams in the country, where everyone in the nation's going to be watching, you wear your known jerseys. People flip it on the TV and say, "Who the hell is Baylor playing tonight?" That's not what you want. You want your logo, the thing that you've worked so hard to be well known. That's what you want. You want
Well,
people to see you in that.
I think they still knew it was Kansas. Have you seen the size of the bird in the middle of that
Yeah,
court? It's
that's
absurd.
true. But in big moments like that, go with Old Faithful, man. Go traditional.
The one thing that bothered me about him is like, I felt like the font for the last names on the back was just way too small. I was like, why is that font so small? Some things that bother me when I'm watching sports, or my mind is, it's just weird. Okay. My winner of the weekend, thought about going with Kyler Murray because saw that he donated 60,000 meals to the North Texas Food Bank. That's absolutely big time after what some of those people went through with the winter storm. I also thought about going with Steve Sarkisian because his 6-year, $34.2 million contract officially got approved by Texas's regents. And I think there's some other incentives in there that he can hit, but
He's got to go for more private jet hours than just 20 hours.
yeah, what
Come
was
on,
that?
man.
Only 20?
Let's go.
Does that can include recruiting? I know the dead period's still going, but like, is
I
that
think
like
that's just personal.
just where I am? Yeah, that it seems like it should be more than 20 hours, right?
The way you work that is right whenever you've got them on the hook, you're meeting to, like, we're going to sign the papers. Here we go. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, I want 80 hours on the private jet. I mean, that can't be the thing that like kills us here, right? And that's what you end up getting.
It's the last bullet point that your
Yeah,
agent brings
that's
up.
it.
Everything's
it.
been agreed to, and he would
The
like
11th
1,000
hour.
hours.
That's right.
But my winner of the week, I'm going to go with winner of the weekend. I'm going to go Alan Bowman because he comes out, announces that he will grad transfer to Michigan. Now, I know Michigan wasn't good last season, but that roster certainly has more talent to work with than Texas Tech does. They got some players now, Ted, and I was looking at Bowman's situation. He's got a solid shot of competing for that job because remember, Joe Milton entered the transfer portal. Remember when he was supposed to be the next great Michigan quarterback after like one game? Dylan McCaffrey hit the portal. So he just has to beat out the Cade McNamara kid. And they got a hotshot freshman that's there that came in the recruiting class. But now he's still going to be coached by Jim Harbaugh, which that sucks. I feel bad for him. But he's still, as far as having a chance to get on the field, this seems like a really good landing spot. Seems like a really solid situation for Alan Bowman, Ted.
It does. I mean, the opportunity is there. The problem is every quarterback that's gone to play for Harbaugh has gotten worse, not gotten better. So I don't know when the last time there was a quarterback there that he elevated. I don't know what's going on, but he's lost the touch if he ever had it with quarterbacks. Now, we know there's one thing that Bowman's got. He's got the ability to absolutely make every single throw on the field. Huge arm. He's accurate as long as he's given time in the pocket. So we'll see. It'll be by far the best talent he's been surrounded with, and it's not even close.
Yeah. Very accurate when both of his lungs work.
Critical factor.
Need to be able to breathe. Our man Bowman needs to be able to breathe.
It's a crucial part of football.
Crucial
Often
part.
overlooked.
Crucial for him. Okay, my loser of the weekend. Thought about going with North Dakota State, right? Their 39-game winning streak snapped by Southern Illinois, and they kind of got dominated. It was not a fluke loss. Like, they got worked. But then I realized it saved us all the stupid debates that undoubtedly were coming if they would have broken OU's 47-game winning streak. So I'm so damn happy that happened. I also thought about going with Baylor basketball because lost their first game of the year against Kansas. But I'm going to give them a break because they aren't the same team right now. Hopefully they get back to the rhythm they were in before they had that 3-week pause. I don't know. We'll see if they can get there. Those were both good options, but my loser of the week, because I can't turn down a great opportunity, Teddy, is Dan Mullen. You're mad because the Florida Gators thought that they had the replacement for Kyle Pitts. Eric Gilbert, who was an absolute stud tight end from LSU, had entered the transfer portal. He had committed to Florida, but this weekend, Gilbert announced that he has decommitted for Florida and says he won't announce his decision until he's enrolled somewhere. It is such a shame that a man as great as Dan Mullen had a player decommit from him. I can't believe Dan Mullen's not going to have that guy on his team, Ted. Loser of the weekend. I can't believe it.
Hated to see it for old Dan. I don't know what happened. I haven't seen or heard anything here, but this dude is legit. And where he ends up, he's going to be a one and done. See, was he a true freshman last year?
Yeah.
So he's got 2 years left that he'll be wherever he goes. He is a total stud. Big, strong, looks about as good as you possibly can in a uniform. So wherever he ends up going that's going to be huge. That's going to be huge for whatever team that is. Thank God it's not Florida. That's the best news Mike Stoops has had already.
That's what I was waiting for. Thank God
good.
it's not Florida. Yeah, we'll see where he ends up. Wouldn't mind him ending up at Oklahoma. I don't know. You got to reach out if you're Lincoln, though. I mean, the kid's an absolute freak show.
So what was it? The rumor, anyways, was that he wanted to be closer to home from LSU, right? That was originally what kind of came out.
Yeah, and I think he's from. I want to say he's from the state of Georgia.
Yeah, I think it's the Atlanta area. But
so, I don't know. But I'm really glad he's not playing for Florida.
Same.
Dan Mullen, clown. All right. And on that note, episode 90 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop Thursday morning. Just a reminder, you can hear Teddy from 2 to 6 on Sports Talk 1400. You can hear me from 3 to 5 on Sirius XM Big 12 Radio, channel 375. Hope you all have a great week. Till next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. And dang it. It's been a while since I messed that up.
Yeah, it has. I think that's the first time you've met. Well, the first couple out of the gate, I think were a bit choppy, but then it was old routine.
I messed it up. Here we go. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.